Good morning. I request all the members from standing committee to be sitting committee members. In the front, there are some chairs. Okay. So, with the permission of all dignitaries on the dais, I welcome all members, lovers of botany, the green elements of the universe. I quote, "The world is constantly changing, but the need of botanists remain permanent." I unquote. Theodore Cook said this long back, and we are realizing it now. We will have the need of botanists. For this very first function of late Dr. V.D. Vartak sir's birth centenary, we have gathered here today. And who else than Professor Madhav Gadgil be the person to connect the era of Professor Vartak to the current representation from various students of botany. This very quickly we will have a formal welcome of all the guests who are here. So I request the host and head of the department, Professor Madhav, to welcome Professor Gadgil sir. Okay, before that, we will have Savitribai Phule Pune Vidyapit Gi. So I request Akshara पुण्यमयी देयां अक्षरवरदान ज्ञान बलो कर्मशील कर्म ज्ञानवान ज्ञान बलो कर्मशील कर्म ज्ञानवान पुण्यमयी देयां अक्षरवरदान. एक सूर भेद धर्म भेद वंश भेद दूर लाख लाख कंठा तुम्हारे एक सूर सीमित हो विज्ञान ज्ञान बनो कर्मशील कर्म ज्ञानवान पुण्यमयी देयां अक्षर वरदान. जानतो समुद्र जानतो की जानतो ज्ञान बनो कर्मशील कर्म ज्ञानवान पुण्यमयी देयां अक्षरवरदान. सत्व परीक्षा सेवे मुक्ति दीक्षा सत्व परीक्षा ज्ञान बनो कर्मशील कर्म ज्ञानवान पुण्यमयी देयां अक्षर वरदान. कर्मज्ञानवान् मनोकर्मशील कर्मज्ञानवान्. Thank you. I request Professor Madhav to welcome Professor Gadgil, sir. A memento of university. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Professor Madhav, sir, to welcome Soni, sir, who is representing Maharashtra Vriksha Samvardhini, a chairperson of the organization, non-governmental organization, which is founded by the team of which Vartak sir was one of the members. Thank you, sir. Oh. And without any further delay, I request Soni sir to offer greetings and welcome all the people who have gathered here and brief about today's function.
Professor Madhav Gadgil, sir, Dr. Madhav, and all the dignitaries who are present today. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you on this first, the beginning of the celebration of the birth centenary of Dr. Vartak. I am relatively so young compared to him, but I remember the first time I heard him, maybe 45 years back, that was relating to his work on the Devrais. And he has been the pioneer in bringing to fore, to light, the presence of Devrais all across Western Ghats. And I remember that almost 4,000 were studied by him, and that was the beginning. And there are so many in the whole country, in different states, that this is something that is not to be forgotten as a resource which is of the past, but it is a reference ecosystem which is even today very relevant for our work of environmental conservation. So, with the pioneering work that Dr. Vartak did, and so many others who supported him in that, we have actually he set up this institute, Maharashtra Vriksha Samvardhini, many years back to continue work on the conservation of trees and continued work on various botanical aspects. So this is what Maharashtra Vriksha Samvardhini has been doing for the last 20 to 20 plus years. And one of the focus that MVS has had is also to promote and popularize various aspects of plant species, work on botany, work on devrais, work on gardening. So various people who are involved in different walks of life in all these different spheres, we have tried to develop a program which would suit each of them. And Maharashtra Vriksha Samvardhini has been taking up various programs throughout the year, every year, for the last so many years. And one of them is relating to Devrais, which we continue to do to this day, which includes a visit to Devrais. I think the role of botany is becoming even more important than it was in the past, because today we see that there's a lot of evolutionary changes that are coming about as a result of climate change. And one of the things, for example, also because of the other uh, stresses that we are creating. For example, pollinators are reducing in numbers, and it is realized that there is a very rapid evolutionary change coming about in plants. Those which are cross-pollinated plants are slowly converting into becoming self-pollinated, because the paucity of pollinators is leading to the problems of their survival. So these are the changes which are coming, and I think botanists have a very important role in studying these rapid changes that are happening, and trying to figure out what are the implications for future work. So I think we have a very important agenda for the future, and Maharashtra Vriksha Samvardhini is very proud to continue the legacy of Dr. Vartak, and carry on in its own way, in whatever strength the volunteers have, to take it and make it more en masse. So this is the first function that we are organizing as part of the birth centenary celebrations of Dr. Vartak, and I am very glad that we have Dr. Madhav Gadgil here to commemorate and make a beginning. We have had a great guidance from him, and he has been a close associate of Dr. Vartak. So this is a very fitting beginning of the birth centenary commemoration. So welcome, Dr. Gadgil, and we look forward to listening to you. Dr. Nadav, we are very thankful to you for organizing this event here, and we look forward to closer working with the botany department in future. Thank you.
Yes. Now I request Padma Bhushan, Dr. Gadgil sir, to have a word with all of us, memories of Vartak sir, and the take-home message that is required for us today. Pani.
Namaskar, friends. It's a great pleasure. It is a great pleasure for me to be here and to pay my tribute to Dr. V.D. Vartak and to share some of my experiences with him. In 1958, I joined Ferguson College in Pune and became a student of, I was interested in becoming a biologist, in fact, a field biologist, and Dr. Vartak was the one person on the faculty of Ferguson College who was very much interested also in field studies. I had 2 years earlier, at the age of 14, adopted Salim Ali as my guru for my career as a field biologist. My father was very fond of bird watching, and he was a personal friend of Salim Ali. And Salim Ali used to come to Pune to study the Weaver bird breeding there was a whole lot of such Weaver bird colonies on the banks of the canal at the base of Parvati Hill. So he used to come there, and my father suggested, because I had become very much interested in birds, that I should meet him. So I had met him, as I said, in 1956 when I was 14, and I was really charmed by his wit, his enthusiasm, his knowledge, and I decided that this is what I would love to do. And my father was very open. I mean, he did not have any feelings that, your son is bright and he must become an engineer or a medical person or an IAS. He had none of that kind of thing. Now, I might have managed all these, but he said, if you want to become a field biologist, by all means become a field biologist, fine. So there I was, and so he was my, as I said, Salim Ali first guru in field biology. But I was delighted to have a second guru in the Ferguson College in the person of Dr. V.D. Vartak, because he was really genuinely interested, and when I got to know him, then he was very happy to take me along on field walks. And amongst other things, I vividly remember in Ratnagiri, there are a whole lot of sacred grounds which are locally called Rahatis. And there is Keshav Sut, you might, those who know Marathi might know. Keshav Sut is a great Marathi poet, and he has in one of his poems a stanza, Zago Zagahi Natalya Nibidaki Tya Rahatya Ranati. Rahati is the sacred grounds. Aina Kindala Khaira आणि पायी रही दाटती or some such, I forget. So I guess Ain is terminalia tomentosa and Kindle is terminalia credulata, Khair is maybe Acacia catechu, and Pyre is some species of ficus, I forget. In any case, दाटती वेली थोर इतस्ततः पसरदी जातात गुंतून. There are these layadas, large number of layadas which are intertwined in the sacred ground, and cheshta tya madhudi yatheshta kariti dadapuri vadare. So the langurs are gamboling around. And so I was very curious, so I asked Dr. Vartak, I want to see what are these rahatis which had so charmed my favorite poet Keshav Sut. And we went and saw those rahatis. There were a large number, as the poem says, Zago Zagahi Datati, a large number of them. And I enjoyed watching them with him. I enjoyed other field work and got to know plants, vegetation under his tutelage. And then after I finished my BSc, in Ferguson College, I went to do an MSc in Mumbai and a PhD at Harvard University. And there, after finishing, I also served as a lecturer for a few years. But so I ceased to have been his student in 1958, but I came back to Pune in 1971 after my stint at Harvard. I had no job at hand, but I was very interested in being in India. So the Council of Scientific Industrial Research had a program whereby they will place you and pay your salary at some institute which will accept you. So Agarkar Research Institute accepted me. I was very happy. And the day I joined, there was Dr. Vartak. I was delighted that he was also now, he had left Ferguson College and he was associated with Agarkar Research Institute. I said that, wonderful, so we should resume our work together in the field. And he said, sure. Then he gave me to read an interesting article he had written in Sakal that time, in 67, I think it was. Hirdoshicha Hirdaki Kolsa. Hirdoshi area, should it be converted, should it be maintained for its, Hirda is Terminalia Chebula, or Kolsa, for converted to coal. So this was really, as far as I understand, the first article on environmental issues written in Marathi at least, and possibly in any Indian language. And he had, although there was already a fair amount of literature in English on environmental issues, it had not penetrated the Indian languages at all. Only after 1972 there was the Stockholm Conference on World Environment did Indians became really aware and started writing and talking about environmental issues. So Vartak was a pioneer in any case. So I said, let's start. He said, fine. So let me first show you, as we had seen earlier, those Ratnagiri sacred groves, a remarkable sacred grove. So we went together to Varandha Ghat, which is beyond Bhor, as I recall. And the area which should have been covered, which had been covered a few years earlier by thick evergreen, semi-evergreen forest, was now barren. It had essentially all been converted into wood charcoal. In those years, in the 50s, 60s, wood charcoal was in great demand in Pune. I remember in our house also in Pune, it was wood charcoal which we were burning in our stoves and for heating bath water. Large quantities were being brought to Pune, and it was from all these forests from Western Ghats. But suddenly one 4-hectare patch stood out. It was Dhuprahat. It was a sacred grove. And Dhup, I guess it's Canarium strictum, which has its normal geographical range much further to the south. It's quite common, I think, in Goa and, especially in Karnataka and Kerala, Western Ghats. But this was one of the northernmost stands, and there were 4 very tall Canarium strictum trees. And after it, which is in Dhup in Marathi, so it was called Dhup Rahat after those strictum trees. So I said, well, now that we are at it, let us do a more systematic study of the sacred grounds. And he inquired, and he had many friends, of course, and he knew about what was happening in the field, and said that the catchment area of Panshet, in this Velle Taluka, that has very good stands of sacred grounds, and we can start our field studies there. So I said, fine, that was what I would love to do. I had no particular other assignment, as I said, at Agarkar Research Institute or anywhere else. I was waiting for some, but this was a very good opportunity to work with Vartak and work on sacred grounds. It was a phenomenon that very much interested me, both as a botanist and also because of my broader interest in anthropology, comparative religion, and so on. I was very interested, so we started. Panshet Dam, as you know, had broken in 1961, July 12th. Everybody who was alive in Pune at that time would remember that date. And after that, Khadakwasla Dam had broken, and there was this huge deluge. Now the government, for reasons completely nobody could understand, none of citizens. 8 hours before the water reached Pune, there was information with the government that the huge floods are going to engulf Pune. It was never communicated, not even to the police on the beat. So as the water came in, the police just said to go to people, go back. Even police had not been informed. Anyway, strange are the ways of the government. Vartak was particularly unhappy, not because of the damage so much Pune suffered, also because of that, but the water supply to his favorite botanical garden was dried up. And he had with great interest nurtured it, and he had taken me around also to show me plants which were not to be seen in the field here. And anyway, so After that, as I said, this was the first time I met him, and this was the dam, Panshet Dam was rebuilt, and there was now the water reservoir, and we had decided to study the sacred groves in the catchment area. And there was quite a large number of them. And we started off. The questions in my mind was this just a relic of religious beliefs? Lot of people believed, and even today they talk about it as just that. That as the religious beliefs wane, then sacred grounds are bound to be cut down. But I thought human beings are not so completely incapable of understanding the ecosystem services which these sacred grounds obviously provided. And there must be reasons for maintaining them which are not just religious belief. So there were then two hypotheses. The prevalent hypothesis was this had nothing to do except with religious beliefs, and my hypothesis was that no, they must also be serving some ecosystem services. Now I was trained as a scientist, so we have this hypothetical-deductive method we talk about, that there are two hypotheses, then they will lead to two different predictions, and you must verify and check. So the first thing immediately I thought was, sacred sites are largely on the hilltops, like our Vetal Baba here, and so many others, or by the riverside, not very often in other locations. So if we see these sacred groves in this Panshet catchment all over, at all, not only by the riverside, but on the slopes, on the plateaus, hillside plateaus, which led to the hilltop, which had its broader sada, as we call it. And yes, they were there everywhere. So my first prediction was verified that it may not be just sacredness. But the second one was to ask people. So we talked to the people, and they said, yes, Madgaon, for example, we have so many Madgaons in Maharashtra. This is the Madgaon in Velle Taluk. It's a small village. Madgaon people said that it is this sacred ground which nurtures our local stream, but even more than that, we love to eat barking deer meat. And the sacred ground is a refugium. I mean, that's the technical word we use in ecology, refugium for barking deer. That we never hunt inside the sacred ground. So the barking deer are safe there. They breed, and then the excess, so to say, will come out. And those excess barking deer will hunt and enjoy the meat. So they said, obviously, yes, that's another function. Then other sacred grounds, they talked about there being some medicinal plants of their particular interest to them, which are only in those particular sacred grounds. So that was another function. This was, throughout we found that this was the case. But many sacred grounds had been cut down. So why were they cut down? And the rest of the area also, which had otherwise very good tree cover, was now barren. So we asked them what was the reason. And the history that was revealed was very interesting. In Pune, there was, and there even today is, the belief that these rural people are anadis, ignorant, short-sighted, and they are destroying environment out of sheer greed. Well, the story they told was quite different. The story was that as earlier there were no roads into that area, and indeed they had not seen much of the market economy. They lived in a subsistence economy, really. They did not deal much with money. Only a small number of commodities, some of the commodities like hirda, this Terminalia cebula, and others, bamboo also. They said we will go to Pune, bamboo, a whole, many of them, a whole clump of bamboos will take to Pune and sell in the market and get some money to buy whatever oil and salt and few things we needed. We'll come back. They had not seen the money. Now, as soon as roads came, then of course the irrigation engineers came and the wakharwalas, those who were making this wood charcoal came, and they colluded fully with forest department, who was not protecting the forest at all. Indeed, we saw one day a forester sitting in a chair and talking to villagers. And we asked later, not in front of them, what was he discussing? He said he was discussing the amount of bribe that we will be willing to give for him to encroach further and further on the forest. The foresters were also, along with irrigation engineers and the charcoal merchants, hand in glove, and they told the villagers who hardly had seen, as I said, money, that anyway you will be rehabilitated. So what's the point in keeping all these trees? They, in their shifting cultivation cycle earlier, they kept mango and they kept this Terminalia cebula, jackfruit, these trees intact. What's the point? You sell them. And they said, we sold them. At how much? A big mango tree for 8 annas. So that is, they had no really understanding of money, and this was taken full advantage of. And of course, as I said, all that charcoal ended up in Pune in many households, including our own in Pune, which I know for sure we were using for several years. Before then, the natural gas came and this Barshan agency came. For several years, it was wood charcoal, which was the fuel. And that had devastated the forest. Then we were just curious, then we said, is there any other source of income that people had? They said, well, there is one very interesting village where you will find. What is that village? Ghor. And it has, they said, also a very big sacred ground, which they had actually maintained on the understanding that only if there is a disaster, like a village huts catching fire and you needed timber, then you would harvest it from that ground, otherwise not. But they said they have a very interesting source of income. You go and see them. So actually, there were these hill ranges close to one another. There was one behind the first range facing this Panshet reservoir. And there were those satellite maps. And actually, the Survey of India sheets also, they had missed that range. So that goal was in that range, which was completely unknown location to anybody outside. And we said, okay, we must go to Ghor and see the sacred ground amongst other things. And as I said, Dr. Vartak was game for anything and everything. So all these days we were camping and we were sleeping in the huts of the local people on their mats or on their gomdis, woolen blankets, eating what they were offered. That time there were no sleeping bags and tents that field workers would carry in the field, nothing of the sort. We had gone essentially empty-handed and we subsisted with the villagers. So, and Vardak was, as I said, completely willing to and actually encouraged me also in that way of doing field work. So we went to Ghor. And Ghor was, we talked to people. And we said that they are telling us that other than the usual income of selling some hirna and maybe bamboo, you have another source. They said, yes, we have another source. Nobody knows of the existence of this our Ghor. You have, because you are wandering around in the villages in front range, and they know of us, told us, you have come here. But nobody else knows. And what all we need to do is, once a month, we go to Pune as a group and have some major dacoity and come back after looting maybe some jewel shop. There's plenty of money for us. So there was, as I said, in the cash economy, a very interesting this thing. And one thing I remember about Ghor was that we slept that night in Ghor and the fleas bit throughout the night and really, but as I said, Vartak and I slept side by side and he and I tolerated all those flea bites and we managed. So, as I said, it was a wonderful experience to be with him and do all this field work and learn what was going on and map number of those Devrais. And then we published a few papers on the sacred groves of Western Ghats and some other studies on the sacred groves. As I said, it was very interesting year and a half of field work with him. Then I got a job at Indian Institute of Science in Bengaluru, which of course is a really first-rate scientific institution. And I am afraid the scientific atmosphere there was far superior to that available in Agarkar. So I happily went to Bengaluru and Dr. Vartak and I then, of course, corresponded and he visited us in Bangalore, but we ceased any further, we did not undertake any further field work together. But as I told, my few outings with him, a fair number of outings with him when I was his student in Ferguson and then in the Velle Taluka as his colleague at Agarkar, they were a great experience. So when Ajit asked me to come and talk here for this function, I said it will be my privilege to pay my tribute to Dr. Vartak. So here it is. Thank you very much. Now I don't know what time it is, but I am open. I can be here for as long as you like answering any questions. I talked in English because Dr. Madhav told me that there might be several people in the audience who may not be familiar very much with Marathi. So the questions, you are welcome to ask me in English and I will answer in English. But if anybody is more comfortable and wants to ask me a question in Marathi, I will happily answer in Marathi. It is up to you. Thank you very much. So I will, I guess, sit down and respond to questions.
Thank you very much, sir. So, in the audience, as said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Language is not the barrier, so please. This is very rare chance to get some people which are really visionary people. In 60s and 70s, they were talking about what today we are talking under sustainable development goals and community involvement and basic science, its importance, and saving plants on or any biological representation on earth. All these are topics which are very hot, role of everyone is widely discussed at global to local scale. These are the people who have made the global information knowledge taking to society today. Happily, we say plant and people. So I think they are the people who have taken the information down the line to the grassroots level, and people are happily working on that, and that's why probably Professor Vartak has decided to work what is to be taught by research and what is to be discussed and take down to students. Why to bias with that, but take it to the society. So please ask. Yes, sir.
My name is Atul Gopal. I am a volunteer with 14 trees. I don't know if you've heard of us. We have a reforestation site at Gadgil near Rajpur, about 200 acres of land. So my question is, economics and ecology are usually, at war with each other. You took the example of the charcoal of the 1970s. As an ecologist, do you think there is a solution where both of these can go in the same direction? I hope you understand my question.
Yeah, the war is proclaimed by certain vested interests, by money banks. I will give you many examples where the destruction of environment leads to very serious adverse economic impacts on people, and indeed the people at the ground level would certainly like to maintain the environment in good balance to serve their own interest of livelihoods and health. Let me take one example, a little different from the forest issue, which is fisheries. There is an incredible amount of pollution both in our rivers and in the sea, and the fisher folk will suffer tremendously. I did a study as part of our Western Ghats Ecology Expert Panel of the Lotte chemical industries complex and the fisheries of the Vashishti River, which was very rich in fish and an important source of livelihood for the local people. Now, it turned out that firstly, the chemical industry complex did not make any proper pollution control measures. But this was all excused because there were a lot of public interest involved in this industry, and pollution control board is of course always categorized. I will make this statement categorically. It never gives honest data on pollution. It is we have pollution control that with us as part of this Western and district. I asked him what was happening today, or I think it was so clear to everybody that it was very badly put in there. He said, no, sir, it is quite clean. And that this was so much that later I had one of the students. He became the chairman of pollution control board of Karnataka, the student for the top science. And I asked him, what are your instructions? We said, sir, the instructions are very clear. Don't record to illegal pollution. If there are large-scale fish deaths, simply ignore them. Never record those large-scale fish deaths. I asked him, is this universal? He said, yes. We are going to Delhi for a meeting of all state pollution control giants, and we verified. All of them had, and they found this instruction. So, in the obviously, now more eyes, lot of fish were by the processing human. And data about livelihoods was that probably the industry, chemical industry created 1,100 jobs and more than 2,000 fishermen lost their livelihoods. So this, as I said, so-called contradiction between ecology and economics is a bogus contradiction. It is posited by those money bags and want to destroy nature and not care about the lives of people and spend money. That's it. Recently, I read some 2 years ago, there was this monsoon case. There is a proposal to get large price of petroleum refineries of large chemical industry there. At the fishermen government, it will destroy their livelihoods, and they were that testing and what happened. So, what the journalist was honestly reporting on these serious protests by the villagers was killed in broad daylight. Why? Because any times close act. This is all recorded. This is very clear. And so this contradiction is, I think, a completely false case. Now you take rich industrial countries, which obviously, if there is this contradiction, must allow horrible pollution to become industrially advanced and rich. And you start, I think, Germany, Sweden, Norway, those are rich countries, industrialized countries, and they have amongst the strictest pollution control measures. And I had a friend who was a radio journalist from Germany who was staying for any accident there, that the substance were has been used to walk together over the time. Anyway, so I asked him, what is the situation? He said, there is ongoing conflicts between Indian industry and German industry, and in Germany they are strictly observing pollution control, and here they are polluting 200. So he said, I will get people who never asked them. He said, look, we are in the business of making money, and we are not in the business of protecting the brand. In Germany, we are forced to make sure that the environment is protected, so we protect it. And in India, and so we end up making good some 40% of it on our investment. And in India, you come and we are not looking to pollute. So we get 400% profit on our investment. And why we doing it? If Indians want the pollution to destroy their rivers and there's a fisheries and all that, we will not distribute that. So you see, there is abundant and very clear evidence that this contradiction is being posited simply by those who are pursuing destruction of environments, compression of democracy, as in Palestine, to make like their own talents.
And just thank you, sir. I'm Mr. Lapur. First of all, I'm really glad for everything and everything the talk that you have given. I also belong to the discipline of economics, and my question therefore is in line with the session that on just this. I would like to know that in the context of the non-sustainability of agriculture that we are facing, with the available land increasing becoming value, or the identification of land and issues like that. So I have two questions in this context. One, how separate those can be recommended created to integrate them with the sustainable agriculture? And secondly, the market mechanism or market oriented economy has penetrated deeply. While the examples which you cited then any of the kinds of subsistence economy. So how to integrate subsistence economy of maybe the village around the second house and the market economy revolution which is happening in the society. So what is the biomedium?
The first question is about the line becoming going out of cultivation and all of this. Some of the actual farming advocates, so heads of fight, they say that it is also related to the same type of issue. There are huge cap subsidies will be worked through to chemical fertilizer industry, and if those subsidies have been short, then of course item will not use fertilizer like pesticides also. So this aspect and agriculture will have a transition. But there are a survey this kind of big interest in getting those subsidies. There are kind of finding the Polish of penalty and to great study of this subsidy and predict that because but there are huge subsidies. Secondly, the shareholder doctor that I was talking about, where are they? Their subsistence economy, the farming and fish, and certainly the fish being farmed brings their money, and it is not like these legends of Malay at times I was talking about. It's they are part of the factory economy, and of course the fishermen, especially like a Indian of Maharashtra, that famous from their adversity and their ability to sell fish and so on. They are part of factory economy.
So it's sense. Yeah. Yes. To prepare someone weapon weapons quality as a doctor is as an ecologist that inspiring you and that could be an inspiration for today's what is our ecology.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was on studies. It's very good. Slow so good. Good.
What that symbols some like you like
And
that's but to give very meaning to more people to be perfectly happy through the betterment is also all right if necessary and still carry on. And it has been I mean it is not that I working on list of work that it was part of my own of frequency as my father was and so very much interested in deepening the farmers and he was involved with setting up projects, sugar factories And I remember when I was very young, so 5, 6 years old, I went, he took me a doctor for as we stand getting good for him, very good. So I had sat on the flats and partners, I sat, we took or and picked them on the road, and it was certainly it was a painful for me that what can share this, what people say, and he inspired me into this. And I have continued on a lot in many other contexts also, and it has been to be a good asset in good kind of science, which by and large very few other scientists are using it.
And this, thanks. I also meant to ask about certain qualities of it. As a botanist, you need to look at these different people of talking such stuff. But the thing about that stuff, I don't know. She were in the so you.
No, I think I really appreciate things that many of these things, but I was scared that I I have learned much earlier from many others, including Gadgil, who's a great sociologist, anthropologist, who was my neighbor, and as a very young boy, I spent 12 months in having research time, and I know that she, at that time, there wasn't a lot of money around, and she did a major work on family structure and so on in their communities, simply by buying tickets of state transport buses and traveling with all those buses and having conversation with various people, asking them and collecting the data. I was sitting at bus stops and talking to people and collecting the data. And with when I was to aspects that I feel but India, they said, but it's not literally money for your favor. I said, never mind. I have this product in company of another thing that way. I don't give anybody what we but
So I was like, sa I will question in speaking or we were like we did plan to treat more. We usually most answer things I will and that's what itself in the Western knots. The way that it is a violence is what people see will be in response of deep use with Holocaust incident thing they were just saying I have this. Because why I gave him I get results. Racial relation records of this is it's
actually, as I understand, the picture is not quite clear. What will be the impact of the climate change? And there are various different scenarios, and sub-scenarios say that rainfall will increase south on western Ghats, south Angola, and not in Maharashtra, and so on. Of course, if there is a better rainfall, it will promote certainly better tree growth. Only that, what it is doing actually today is promoting greater landslides because we have not left the soil and we have all kinds of interventions which have improved the soil for letting plants to grow. And recently, we don't have 2 months, 3 months ago, maybe, there was this horrendous landslide in Nepali, in Kerala, which killed over 400 people. And it is not because the rainfall had polluted better teamwork with our party. But our parties and many other interventions are demonstrated where we are deeply.
So that the guy is good.
Thank you. Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. So this might seem like an anthropological question, but it's related to how do we conserve and protect these sacred groves. Going back to the hypothesis that you mentioned about it would serve as a religious, it used to serve as a religious need for us as Europeans. And today in the modern technological context, how do we actually go about conserving these gene pools and climax forests that area?
Yeah. You did. Yeah. Okay. And
I think the answer is fairly clear that it is demonstrated in villages in Gadgil which have been given community forest rights, and there is data, and using one collection of data, there is data that once the local community has assurance that the better tree growth, for example, in great forests will benefit them. The benefit has actually happened, and they are permitting better growth. And not just that, but there is a village called Pasdale, which has such a community forest resource assigned to the 100 acres, 100 hectares of them. They have spontaneously out their own set aside 3 hectares as a sacred ground and given it complete protection. So it is the local communities, I think, which would give properly empowered I do this, and our Forest Act provides for this. And this is what we should actually pursue more and more seriously.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Soni helped me initiate some of these studies in lectural events. So, and he's in touch, so he might like to supplement.
no, I think one of the important principles at Madhav is always accounted right beginning is the connection. And it is the people who really are the custodians in local ecosystems. And if we have to go ahead, the people have to play a very important role. The community forest makes because of that location. It is not possible at least in forestry area, which is or very hard. For communities to play a role, but there will be a lot of redevelopment required. Because they have not been in charge of managing the forests in the past. We have been the forest party will be doing that. So if you require anything, when to community engagement and create a better sort of training of communities like the doctor needs in a sustainable manner. Plastic level of the which goes. I experience.
And I have just said that Dr. Soni was involved in through wife, he gave me support to begin such an exercise. I guess the local communities obviously need technical inputs and they provide technical inputs and continue to do that through other channels also. And certainly it has been a very rewarding experience.
Thank you very much, sir, for your words of experience, expertise, and wisdom. Now, just for the benefit of the students who are here, I'm exactly sure have not seen Professor Bhatt have just heard what I think this risk for all of them. To understand the varied areas, corridors that he has explored, we are talking about the time where there was no mobile, nothing else. But he has a habit of collecting many things. Right from minerals, rocks, coins, possible stamps as the point in the earlier section. But one very prominent thing that we can understand today that you must have seen people around you, highly experienced, expert each other's like emergency story, were here just to pay attention to Professor Walton. And this is very important thing from his life that he was collected of people, and their benefit was always his priority. Right from he was teacher in music college, he ate NCC unit there. He was fond of music. He was best player of harmonium and panthorpe. I think it's been remember most days. And very important thing that he has initiated many things like Marathi Vinyan Parishad, very foundational work and taking science to the society. N number of things, books, huge amount of books being collected and made it available for everybody who was interested in that in learning. As I said, these are very important parts of his personalities, and because of which you can see many people have reasons just for our benefit. Then he was a good organizer also of people, and he made the life membership for all these initiatives. He has initiated the journey of this Maharashtra, which is our journey after so many years, been, which is very active. Things have got changed, and the approach has got changed, but this is very relevant contribution that is very valuable for this generation, and I think this is the day where we have started with this initiative. It isn't just a gathering, but there are several aspects that are planned in this secretary here. So I wish and pray that all of you here have equal participation and attention for all such programs. Now, for this function, a person with very dynamic and classic example of today that merits very glamorous step, national education policy overall, and what steps just that. He was very much interested in this gathering, but because of very important meeting called by Honorable Chancellor, that he could not make it possible. But he has conveyed message that all such programs planned in future. Now I request Professor Madhav to share his views and talk about what will be planned together to this year.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mahesh. Good afternoon to all. Today's chief guest, Honorable Padma Bhushan, Professor Madhav Gadgil, sir, Dr. Sony, Chairman, MES Pune, Rajiv Vartak, Dr. Vinay Nate, Dr. Bhatt, and other members associated with MES Pune and all work lovers, my colleagues and friends. At the outset, I came by sincerely with you, late with Dr. Video Vartak, and we welcome you all at this centenary celebration function. So it's our pleasure to host this event and to celebrate the centenary year of Video Vartak throughout the year. So this is the first inaugural lecture, and then this will be subsequently followed by many more lectures. Some of them will be online. And as the Rajiv Vartak calls it, there will be actually some online lectures conducted from the taxonomies and continuous lectures being outside India. So this is how we will be engaging the various activities throughout the year. And I feel very much proud that we have hosted this particular thing. And we are very much interested to all the series of events that we taken in over the year. Sure. So it is would like to thank all that you have performed here in such a light work, and then attended this memorable lecture, and then hope that is every child to end up with very fun. Yes, I am so glad Elias for taking and every class to the all the ranks role. But this was in flow on Sunday. Please. It's the Lord's.
This up. Perseverance and who's there? I call Gadgil, but because you the second and Nisham. It is all in the points is another person who is in active, and you can see the diverse means strategies connected. So please reference. So
Oh, thank you.
the balance. Great. So, thank you very much. They will cover. We are well within the anything that was declared for the program. And now, indulging, reflection, everybody are here spending their time to pay attention to the Watson. This is something which bonds us, which makes the people again that each people who are again say vigilant Indians who have worked hard that with whatever digital resources that we're having. And I think the reason why we are enjoying these greenery days at hand. So with the thought that whatever is left for us by our family generation, we are equal and more than that responsibility to make it available. The way it is given to us, given to us to the generations come. Thank you so much for all of you who are here. Indirectly, there are you connected with all the activities of our religious awakening. I thank section the office of Medical Vice Chancellor who has contest all the members of Department of Water, Sanctuary, University, all the teaching staff, and supporting staff, all the students, volunteers, and you know, to organize such a function, you require a number of directly, direct talents, and to all of that, I will say, and thus I declare that this house is. Thank you so much.